Let's talk about what to look forward to and what to keep an eye on in women's basketball in a segment I'm calling Court Vision. We've got other leagues other than the WNBA to look forward to, which is exciting. Unrivaled Season 2 will be taking place starting in January of 2026. It will include new players this year like Paige Becker, Sonia Citron, Kelsey Mitchell, and Veronica Burton, to name a few. And there will also be 2 new clubs, the Breeze and the Hive. We've also got a special one-night-only event in Philly in the same arena the Sixers play, which, for those that don't know, is Philly's NBA team. There will be 2 Unrivaled games taking place in Philly, and Philly is the first spot of many Unrivaled plans to tour in the future. The regular season of Unrivaled takes place in Miami through the months of January, February, and March. And it is a 3-on-3 style of play on a slightly smaller court with slightly different rules. So I'm not going to get into all of the different rules, but an example of a different rule is that instead of a timed fourth quarter, the fourth quarter is untimed and the game ends when one team reaches a winning score. And that is 11 points greater than the leader's score after the third quarter. So basically, the third quarter ends, you look at the score of the winning team, and you add 11 points. The first team to reach that number wins. So the team winning at the end of the third quarter has a big advantage. There is also an entertaining one-on-one tournament that takes place as well with Unrivaled. We've also got Athletes Unlimited, which is another league happening during the WNBA off-season. It was founded in 2020, and it is a 5-on-5 league, so it's regular basketball rules, and it takes place in Nashville, Tennessee, during the months of February, March, and April. Athletes Unlimited isn't as popular as Unrivaled, as it's not backed by superstar W players like Stewie and Nafisa. However, there are some W players who will be participating. Some of those players include Tina Charles, Alicia Clark, Sydney Colson, Caitlin Chen, Anissa Morrow, and Nalissa Smith. We also have women's college hoops. The Division I women's college basketball preseason has already started, and the real season begins November 3rd and goes through March. Some of the teams to look out for are the reigning champs, UConn, also South Carolina, UCLA, Texas, and LSU, to name a few. And some players to look out for as well, particularly future WNBA draft picks, are Lauren Betts, Olivia Miles, Flau'jae Johnson, Tanaya Latson, and AZ Fudd. There are 2 other leagues that have entered the chat but are very fresh. They are Project B and the Upshot League. So Project B has been in conversation for nearly 2 years, but mostly under the radar, and it is now expected to launch in the fall of 2026. This league allegedly would have 6 men's and 6 women's teams and take place in Asia, Europe, and Latin America, with players getting equity in the league similar to Unrivaled. However, no specifics on this have been disclosed yet. This would directly compete with the NBA schedule, but not the WNBA schedule. This league is being backed by some big names, most notably the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, LeBron James, and Candace Parker, to name a few. Project B is a filler name right now, as the actual name of the league hasn't been announced. They are also claiming that they will be paying much higher salaries than the WNBA for the women's league. The style of play would also be 5-on-5, and there have been no actual players announced yet for this league, so there is still a ton that we don't know that is still unfolding. Now, the other league I mentioned, it is called the Upshot League, and it appears to be more of a G League type situation for women's players. It's expected to start in May 2026, and it will take place in the U.S., in the South particularly, including North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, which the WNBA is currently lacking teams in the South, with only Atlanta and Texas having teams right now. So there is a market for women's basketball in the South, and it appears that this league could be a place for players to go that aren't making a WNBA roster, so that they can refine their skills similar to the NBA's G League. So if a player gets cut, they can go to this league and still play here in the U.S. and not have to go overseas, as the league would take place May through September, directly competing with the WNBA schedule. It's very interesting to me that there are so many other leagues popping up right now in women's basketball. I think people are seeing how the WNBA is, I don't want to say crumbling, but struggling right now and very clearly not treating their players right. So therefore other people are saying, well, hey, I want to start a league and here's how I would go about doing that. And I also think Unrivaled inspired some people with their success and audacity. Overall, I think more leagues are better. It gives players some options and opportunities to make money. I think it's bad for the WNBA since there's more competition with legs to compete with them, but the WNBA can still recover from this. They just need to pay their players more. And the last thing I'll say is launching and operating a league is very difficult. The success rate is not high. Obviously, it takes a ton of money to do so. So it'll be interesting to watch how each of these leagues develop. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you've enjoyed this episode, and you can also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Hoops and Healing, as well as my personal account at amanda.mochi on Instagram, and I will link all of my handles in the description below. See you on the next episode.